الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجال كثير ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان لكم رقيبا يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدث في الإسلام بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah Azza wa Jal. We praise Him and we extol Him. We send the finest of salutations ala khair khalqillah and the finest and best of creation, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're the most truthful of speeches, the book of Allah Ta'ala, and the finest guidance that of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the most evil of affairs and the newly invented ones, bid'ah, and every innovation in Islam is going astray. Every newly invented matter in the deen leads to the hellfire. Allah Afia, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all safe and away from innovation in the deen. With that said, as what follows, Bad. Today, my dear son and man, I'd like to speak about a very important topic. The subject matter of today's khutbah regarding independence and freedom of will and religious belief. I chose this topic. Some of us may not have heard or not be aware of the incidents that had taken place the week before last in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. What happened? It wasn't widely publicized in the news. Some of us might be aware, and for those of us who are not aware what took place in the city of brotherly love during the Eid festivities, there was two rival Muslim gangs, youth, teenagers, that were armed with assault-style rifles, and they started to shoot at each other. They started to shoot at each other during the Eid festivities into a crowd of over 1,000 people. Alhamdulillah, they fired over 30 rounds of ammunition, and only a few people got hit, and alhamdulillah, nobody was killed by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want to start by saying that one of the main issues, one of the main or the core issues that we are facing in North America is the excessive amounts of freedom, accessibility to freedom and devices. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Without parental, without supervision, without discipline. As I look around, I don't see many youth in the masjid. I see people in their 20s, over 30s, and in their 50s and 60s. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, but where are the youth? Where are the shabab? When we are lacking in seeing our youth in the masjid is when we are not seeing a very vibrant future. When we're only seeing the youth in the masjid during holidays and during Ramadan, special occasions such as Ramadan, which we had witnessed, then we have a serious problem in this part of the world. This was the madrasa of the Sahaba Ikram, was to bring the youth to the masjid. The single mothers in the time of the Prophet ﷺ would bring the youth to the durus, to the masjid, to act and engage with the rijal, with the men, so they can learn how to be good men. When the Prophet ﷺ didn't see Abu Umair, he said, I haven't seen him for a few days. So he took his companions with him and he went to visit him. And he found out that his pet bird had passed away. So he said to his companions, let us go and visit our brother in Islam. He was sad. And the Prophet ﷺ went to visit him and he said, Ya Abu Umair, Mother Father, O father of the bird, what did the little bird do? He made him happy, a farah. He made a joke with the young lad to bring him out of his depression. That was in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nothing has gotten any better since then to now. Depression is at an all-time high amongst youth, amongst teenagers. Suicide is at an all-time high amongst youth. Where are the youth? They should be in the madrasa. The masjid was the madrasa. They're at school, we say. Where are the youth? They're at school. They need to learn. The best place for them to be on Yom al-Jum'ah is the masjid. إذا نودي الإسلام من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم. Allah says, when you hear the call on the day of Jum'ah, rush, fas'aw, to remembrance of Allah and leave your business alone. That's better for you. But where are the youth? They're in school. They need to learn. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. My dear Imam, as we all know, it's an obligation upon the elders in the community, in every community, to be a role model for the youth, up-and-coming youth, specifically the teenagers. There's a time period when the children must disengage with the mothers and start to engage with the elders in the community so they can learn how to be good, viable members of every community. It's upon the imams, the elders and the imams to be good role models and examples for the youth. But if the youth aren't there, there's no accessibility, then how will this transitional period take place? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. With that said, my dear Imam, as we all know and have witnessed, that the majority of us who have taken upon ourselves to come over here to this land of milk and honey, North America, landed on the shores of North America, not by force, not on slave ships, not by whips, by choice. We've come here looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. None of us have come here, let's be real with ourselves. None of us have come here to give da'wah, to call the non-Muslims to La ilaha illallah, tuflihu. Qul la ilaha illallah tuflihu. None of us have come here for that. We've all come here for, I'm making quotes, a better life. At the expense of what? Losing our deen. At the expense of what? Being free. And as we all know, as the people of the book who came before us, they came with the same ideology. They wanted to come here for a better life. So we followed in their footsteps, as the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has stated, that we would follow. لَتَبِعَنَّ سُبُلَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ شِبْرًا بِشِبْرًا ذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ إلى آخر الحديث. That we will follow the sunnah, the ways, the attitudes, the morals, the manners of those people who came before us. Handspan by handspan, foot by foot. If they were to even go into the hole of a lizard, we'd follow them in there. So how could they ask, Al-Yahud wa Nasara? Do you mean the Jews and the Christians? The Prophet said, for me, men. Then who else? We're following in their example. And what did they seek after coming over here? Why did they come here? They wanted to be free. They wanted freedom. They wanted freedom of choice. They wanted to be free to voice their opinions. They wanted freedom to love and lust and to be free of everything, especially to be free of religion, to be free of the shackles of deen. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We Muslims will follow the same footsteps. We have come here to be free. At what expense? We have come here to be free at what expense? We never thought about that. At the expense of losing our most precious assets in life, which is our deen and our families. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Many Muslims now, and I'm being very frank, have left the deen while claiming to be a Muslim. What does this mean? Many Muslims, they say, I'm good inside. I'm a good person inside. Nadif, clean. I don't go to masjid because I don't want to be told what to do. I'm clean inside. I'm a good person inside. And on the other hand, we have other Muslims who are into that New Age type of religion. They get angel numbers written on themselves. They say, well, I'm a spiritual person. We have Muslims now, where they're getting different types of gems and different type of stones that they collect. They're searching it up, and you look at TikTok, you look at Instagram, Muslims are showing their stones, their gems. They're showing their angel numbers. Muslims, the ones who say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, they said, no, I don't go to masjid. I'm a spiritual person. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. My dear man, we are losing our most valuable assets. Our children are now starting to follow in this trend. They are now leaving the deen in groves. While we feel that they're with us, they're actually with the dunya. They're actually a part of the street culture. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. As Muslims, my dear man, with this excessive amount of freedom, of choice, of love, of lust, it has caused the people of the book to lose themselves completely. And now, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, we Muslims are following the same pattern. Alhamdulillah, as a Muslim man, alhamdulillah, I identify as such, as a man, not as they, them. As we see a lot of people of the book that have been struggling with. From the top, starting with the Pope, coming all the way down to the bishops and preachers and pastors. They are struggling with this, on what to identify with identity politics. They're struggling with their love interests. But alhamdulillah, as Muslims, this shouldn't be an issue. This should be a subject of discussion. Lakum dinakum waliya din. Very clear. They gave the Rasul options in his time when the odds were all against him. Without any consideration. If you were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would never leave my deen. I would never leave my deen until and unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings about his amr, establishes the deen, or I die trying to establish the deen. We can't even establish the deen in our own homes. We have no control over our families. We allow our women to come and go as they please. The Prophet ﷺ describes such a man as a dayus. The man that allows the woman to come and go as they please, لا تجدون ريحها ريح جنة. They will not smell the fragrance of Jannah. We have no control over our households. We have no control over our emotions. We have no control over our families. So where is our deen? We have lost our deen, my dear Salaman. For a group of teenagers to bring inside the Eid over 1,000 people present, the most happiest time of the year for the Muslims, to bring assault-style rifles and to be firing and trying to kill each other, their fellow Muslim brethren, during the Eid ceremony. This is what happened in the city of brotherly love. My dear brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, we may differ about certain aspects of fiqh, where to place our hands, here, there, or on our side. But while we're fighting about those issues, we're losing our children. We have to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. No matter what happens in life, He says, Ya ladina amanu, ittaqullah haqqa tuqatihi, wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Have the consciousness, the taqwa of Allah, as is due for Allah. And don't ever think about dying unless you're a Muslim. Allah has also said, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرِ إِسْلَامَ دِينًا فَلَنْ يَقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Whosoever chooses a way of life, whatever they fancy, other than the way of Islam, Allah will never accept it from them. And in the next life, they will be one of the losers. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, on Hajjatul Wada, and the last Hajj of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had stated, he had gotten the ayah from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Al-Yawm Akmaltu Lakum Deenakum, Atmamtu Alaykum Ni'mati, wa Raditu Lakum Al-Islam Ad-Deen. This day I have perfected your deen for you and completed my favor upon you and have chosen Islam as your deen. It's up to us. Allah chose for us Islam as our deen. Now it's up to us to take this gift, this favor from Allah upon us. When this ayah was revealed, Umar ibn Khattab, he started to cry. He started to weep. And when we read about Umar ibn Khattab, we know that Umar ibn Khattab was no slouch. Umar ibn Khattab was a real strong man. He was huge in stature and strong about the deen. When this ayah was revealed, it shook his heart. He started to cry uncontrollably. The Prophet ﷺ, he asked Umar ibn Khattab, why are you crying? He said, when something reaches its pinnacle, its top, there has to be a decline. It must start to decline. The Prophet ﷺ said, Sadaq, ya Umar, Sadaq. He had spoken the truth, or Umar had spoken the truth. This is exactly what we're experiencing today, in the Ummah today. We are picking and choosing what we want of the deen. Islam has already been chosen for us. All we have to do is ittaqullah mastata'tum. Have the taqwa of Allah to the best of our ability. None of us can be 100%. None of us can be anything near to the grade of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. But now we have wishy-washy Muslims pretending to be or claiming to be so advanced, so modern, so civilized, that he said, I can do whatever I want. Alhamdulillah, thank God, as they say, because they're so civilized. You say Assalamu alaikum, they say, hi, good morning, how are you? Because they're so civilized. We see each other on the street, they're ashamed to say Assalamu alaikum. They're so civilized now, because they made it to the land of milk and honey. But they still haven't found the pot of gold. But they made it here though. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm going to say this, my dear man. Whether we believe it or not, or we accept it or not, that our time on this earth is numbered. Our time period on this planet earth is numbered. And there will come a time that we'll have to leave all of this gold that we've collected here in our pot, like a leprechaun, and stand in front of Allah, Rabb al-Izzah, the Lord of majesty and might and power. We'll have to stand in front of Him. We're bragging and boasting about how much money we have, how many businesses we have, how many houses we have. We're all going to leave it. Allah, we're going to live to manage them and to look over them. 100 years, 200 years, we're going to have to leave it in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah just says in Surah Isra, يوم ندعو كل أناس بإمامهم ومن أوتي كتابه بيمينه فأولئك يقرؤون كتابهم ولا يظلمون فتيلا ومن كان في هذه أعمى وهو في الآخرة أعمى وضل سبيلا. صدق Allah. The day when we shall call together all human beings with their imam, i.e. their book of deeds. So whosoever is given his record in his right hand, such will be able to read their record, and they will not be dealt with unjustly in the least bit. And whosoever is blind in this world, then we will be blind, he will be blind in the next world, and far astray. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that on the day of resurrection, we will be called, each and every one of us will be called by our imam. And the ulama of tafsir, they give different reasons and different interpretations to what is this imam. What does it mean of imam? We know in the Arabic language, imam, someone in front, is someone who is to be followed. But the different tafsir, they stated that the imam is that thing or that object that we took to and we followed behind. So what is who and what was our imam? Will be called by that imam on the day of judgment. Our car, our money, our business, our lust, our love interest, our desire, that will be our imam that will be called by on the day of judgment. So we should all seek to have our imam be Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran and the Sunnah. We should not be a blind follower of our desires. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be one of those followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bismillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sallam. As I mentioned, for those who are coming in late, at the start of today's khutbah, was revolving around independence and freedom of will and freedom of religious belief and thought. I chose this topic because some of us, which is the overwhelming majority of us, are of the opinion that religion is holding us back in life. We need to be one of the people of the book. See them, see how they're good, see how they're established. What about us? A lot of us have that opinion, that we need to follow them, which as the Prophet already prophesied would happen, that we will follow them. But we don't want to be of those who are following them. We want a Rasul to be our imam. He should be the one we are following. I mentioned at the start of our khutbah, for those of you who are coming in late, what took place the week before last in the city of brotherly love. There was a shooting that took place during the Eid festivities in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Two rival Muslim gangs started to shoot at each other with assault-style rifles during the Eid in a gathering of over 1,000 people in the city of brotherly love. They fired over 30 shots. A few people got hit, but alhamdulillah, nobody was killed. One of the people who were apprehended and they found with him an assault-style rifle was a 15-year-old boy. A 15-year-old kid brought an assault-style automatic weapon to the Eid to shoot and assassinate his Muslim brother during the most festive time and happiest time of the year for the Muslims. After fasting 30 days of Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, we're happy and joyous. These rival gangs are bringing guns to kill each other during the Eid. Where is the parenting? Where is the discipline? This is what we're experiencing, my dear man. Lack of discipline, lack of parenting, lack of manhood. Why? Because we're too busy running after that pot of gold. That's why we came here. We got married, we had a kid. Allah yadim. Allah will guide them. La, they're amana. Allah says, Kullukum mas'ul. Wa kullukum mas'ul an ra'iti. Ar-rajul mas'ul. Wa huwa mas'ul an ra'iti. All of us are shepherds. And all of us will be held accountable for our flock. The man is a shepherd, and he will be held accountable for his flock. So let us not shirk our responsibility. If Allah blessed you with children, look after them, guide them, help them. We have to stop leaving the children to be corrupted by the system. We need to stop running after the glamour and the glitter of this dunya. This, my dear man, reminds me of what Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, he had stated in the early 60s that he gave the example of the field Negro and the house Negro. The field Negro, he was intelligent and he was free in his mind, but he was in captivity and always trying to escape from captivity, physical captivity. But the house Negro, living high in the hog, as we say, in the house with his slave master, feels himself free because he's wearing nice clothes. He's able to eat a little bit better types of food. But in actuality, he's mentally and physically physically enslaved, although he believes that he's better off than the field Negroes. Right now, my dear man, in 2024, that reigns so true. We have so many of us that have come over here to this land of opportunity and milk and honey, running after looking for that pot of gold and never finding it, at the expense of losing our children, losing our families. My dear man, I have sat down with numerous teenage youth. I have sat down with black youth, gangsters. I have sat down with Bengali, Bangladeshi youth, gangsters. I have sat down with young Pakistani gangsters. I have sat down with Afghanis, gangsters. I have sat down with these Somali East African youth who are calling themselves the Halal Gang, gangsters. Or so they claim. I sit down and I speak with them, because that's what we do. We do outreach, we speak to them. Because these children are our children. We care about them so much. They cry at my shoulder. They say, I'm not like what it seems. I'm not like that. It's just that I have too much free time on my hands. And I was never shown the right thing. I was never taught the right thing. Up number of times, the youth, they tell me this. They cry to me and they say they were not guided alright. I know what a masjid is, but I was never taken there as a youth. And the only thing I know is what's happening out on the streets. My dear somebody, man, freedom, an excess amounts of freedom, without the right guidance, without being steered in the right direction, can lead to our damnation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to help our youth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to have the right vision in this life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in Afghanistan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in Afghanistan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in the Sudan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them to ease their suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in the Holy Lands. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of them, the ones who are in Syria, who are struggling, in Yemen, in the Gaza Strip. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them and give them the Nasr Aziz, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, ya alladhina amanu. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنه. السلام.